Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Tom Stewart here. I'm with Liz Trotter, and our guest today is Shawn Day, coming at you from some parts in Ohio,
Let's say Northeast. That'll cover everything.
Northeast Ohio. Shawn, how in the heck are you?
I'm doing really, really well. Really well. We're just getting through all those holidays, and now we're ready for the gun to go off so we can get sprinting again here.
I think the gun's already gone off. It's happening.
Yeah, it's happening. Yeah. So I think it's awesome that we were saying before we came live that you guys basically take a month and a half off before January so that you can hit the ground running there. So I love that.
To some extent, yeah. I mean, I know Dan, my God, he's hunting and fishing and messing around and all that stuff. I'm working hard, though. I'm working hard.
You're there every day. Somebody has to take care.
I got you. Oh, heck to you too, Denise.
Hey, is that what language? Is that like hello in some foreign language?
She's never living that down. You know you're never living that het down there, Denise. Yeah. I told Tom too, Denise, so that you're aware. I told him make sure that he does not go out and buy a New Year's hat because you already purchased it.
But I'm on my own for my 80s costume for 80s QDS.
Yes. Are you going to be at QDS, Shawn?
I don't know. I've got like 8 events we're going to. I don't think so. Okay. I don't think so. I think we went Martha's thing last year or 2 years ago.
I remember seeing you, so I don't know if it was last year, year before.
It was a couple years ago, yeah.
I think last year was in
Mexico.
Yeah, I didn't go to Mexico.
I didn't either.
I would remember that.
Yeah, I would too. So, okay, so I saw you the year before. Well, I was thinking if you're going, you have to have an 80s costume. So
I've got plenty of those.
like Tom, the OG, right?
I was wearing those. They were cool.
The 80s were great.
Yeah, I don't have 80s clothes. I'm one of those people that cleans out my closet every 3 to 6 months, and I get rid of everything.
If it wasn't for my wife,
years.
If it wasn't for my wife, everything I would say probably 1980 something or another on it.
Yeah, I don't have. I might have my wedding gown, maybe. I'm not showing up in that. All right. Yeah. All right. So, Tom, do you have the process flow?
Heck yeah.
Is there anything going on with COVID, y'all, right now? I know a lot of people have it.
People have it.
Yeah, a lot of people have it right now. But I haven't heard anything new or different. Have you, Tom?
No, I mean, I guess the big thing, and last week, the CDC basically is relaxing its guidance in terms of what people are supposed to do if they get it. If you have COVID, stay home for 5 days, and if you can walk after that, don't even bother taking a test. Just get yourself back to work. Is kind of, I'm being a little bit sarcastic, but it looks like they're erring on the side of trying to get people back to work, where before it was erring on the side of caution.
Yeah,
I think they're erring on the side of let's keep the planes in the sky.
Yeah,
that's
and the hospitals are getting to the point where they don't have enough caregivers. I mean, this is, before we were talking about not having enough beds, and that's kind of an issue, but we don't have enough people to do the things they need to do for the beds that they have.
Yeah. If you think back, it was all about we don't even have PPE. We don't have masks for our first responders and all that sort of thing. And we didn't have anything, ventilators and all those sort of things. And
I forgot about that, Shawn.
Yeah, right. And now it's through the roof again. But those aren't the headlines. We just don't have bodies, human beings, to go take care of people. It's frantic a little bit.
Yeah, it's not good. Well, and it's not even the COVID patients. They just don't have people to handle like everyday illnesses.
Right.
That are out there. So,
and there's a lot of, I know a lot of RNs, and my sister-in-law works for the Cleveland Clinic, and there's a lot of burnout. I mean, you think there's burnout cleaning houses and scrubbing toilets. There's a lot of burnout in the healthcare industry right now.
I posted a great article last week, I think, about burnout. in the Cleaning Profit Builders group. And yeah, you should, if you're not in that group, join it. Cleaning Profit Builders. Great article. It was short, very short, quick read, maybe a minute long, about burnout. And I was like, this really, really spoke to me, and how to manage what the problem really is. A lot of times we're thinking that burnout is something else. Anyway, we should probably talk about KPI, since that's our topic.
We can talk about that. We got plenty of time to talk about that. What am I doing here?
In 6 days, StreamYard will lose access to your LinkedIn account.
It's all good.
I'm
on it. Okay, where's your article?
It looks like, are you on the page, Tom? Or is that the group?
I think so. Manage page, Cleaning Profit Builder.
It's in our group. It's in there.
Well, I'm not in your group, so never mind.
Yes, you are.
Okay, well.
Oh no, what is that fancy thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
You haven't seen this, Shawn?
I have. I was joking.
Oh, okay.
This is the profit. This is, I guess this was originally, we used this in foundations for years as a process flow chart for any cleaning business, any house cleaning business.
Love it.
You need to find people who want to clean homes. You got to evaluate and hire some of them. You got to train them. So basically, you got to find people to clean homes. And here you have to market and advertise and find people who want their homes cleaned. And you got to sell them. And then you got to keep them happy. And you got some other stuff down here, equipment, blah, blah, blah. But you take the people who want to clean homes and the homes that need to be cleaned, and you mix them up here and schedule and dispatch and clean, and it's really an easy business.
So all sorts of people, though, doesn't it?
Simple. How about simple, Tom, versus
simple?
easy?
It's simple business, pretty straightforward. So each one of these boxes is a process, and this is the service delivery process. This is the meat and potatoes of everybody's business. There's support processes down here below the line that, we need to be mindful of. You need to, be doing your accounting, your payroll, your technology, yada, yada, yada. But for the most part, we focus a lot on the actual service delivery. And for the month of January, we're breaking down key processes out of this process flow. We want to talk about the KPIs associated with them, the whole Deming's idea, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And, we talk about KPIs. I don't say every January because we haven't been doing this for a bunch of Januaries, but last year, doggone it, we talked about KPIs, and we're talking about them again this year. And today, Shawn's going to be leading us through the KPIs associated with the recruiting process, because Shawn is very much a subject matter expert on the matter, because he basically helps other cleaning businesses do their recruiting through Blue Sky's administrative services.
Yes.
I'll drop the link to this in chat. You guys do a ton of recruiting, don't you, Shawn?
Say that again?
You guys do a ton of recruiting for a lot of people.
We sure do. We do it for our own locations, our own operations. We own some cleaning companies. And for example, in our Minneapolis, Minnesota cleaning company alone, we hired 45 people last year. So that's an awful lot of recruiting at just one location. And we also have hundreds of clients in the cleaning industry that we recruit for as well. So that's a lot of recruiting.
Yeah.
And you guys do a lot of work in the broader context of cleaning. It doesn't have to be specifically house cleaning. You do a lot of work with house cleaning companies, I know. But if you're in window cleaning, carpet cleaning, you guys kind of cover the gamut, don't you?
We do. It's exterior cleaning. I owned a residential home cleaning company for over 20 years in Northeast Ohio. We had about 42 cleaning techs when I sold it off to Blue Sky Services. But we do all the things you mentioned, Tom. but we really don't step outside of that industry. I mean, we just love the home service industry. The majority of our clients are cleaning industry. We do a lot of lawn care, but most of them are in some sort of showing up to a home or an office and cleaning it, whether it's the inside of it or the outside of it. And that's our niche. That's what we love.
Very good.
Yeah.
So is it important to measure the outcomes of your recruiting efforts? Is that something that the people you work with, is that even part of the discussion?
It is internally for us. We haven't really done a lot with our external clients. As far as providing reporting to them, we're in the midst of doing those things, but we do have KPIs that we track. And I can touch on a few of those. One of the big ones, and let me step back for a second. I'm very big on the belief that marketing and sales and recruiting are very aligned. One spectrum, we have this thing called a client, and on the other spectrum, we have this thing called an employee. And we have the start of it all, and we race to get to the end of that spectrum, right? And so with that said, one of the big KPIs I would assume that you've gone over or will go over is client acquisition cost, right?
Mm-hmm.
We want to know what it costs to get an employee as well. And so we break it down very much the same as marketing. Is Home Advisor working or is it not? We need to track that stuff, because why on earth do we want to spend more money there if it's not working? Same thing with recruiting. Is Indeed working or isn't it working? And then, as you both know, when you're tracking things, there can be a lot of deceptive things that you look at and think one thing, and then you start letting your mind decide instead of letting numbers and tracking and unemotional things decide those things, because we all hate Indeed. So we don't want to spend any more money there than we have to. Right. So
love hate.
Exactly. We need them. And that's just it. And it's, one of the biggest things that I tell people is you've really got to boost and sponsor for the most part nowadays. Where 6, 7, 8 years ago, you didn't have to. For the most part, we can get 700 applications and not spend a dime getting that at one point. That's not true today. So you really want to track your dollars more than ever, because there's so much more boosting and sponsoring, and it costs so much more to find a good employee than it did 5 or 6 or 7 years ago.
So talk to us about some of these KPIs.
Sure.
Like you just said, it costs so much more now than it did 5, 6, 7 years ago. What kind of numbers are we talking about, Shawn? What are you seeing?
So one of the big things is geographics. It really depends on the geographics. Yeah. So as far as a cost per employee, let me go over what I mean drastically, how it can be different in one place, one part of the country versus another. So we, as I say, we have an office in Minneapolis, Minnesota. For a window cleaner there, we hired 45 employees there last year, 2021.
Yeah.
We hired a lot of window cleaning technicians. If I look at what we spent there, it was roughly between $1,300 and $1,500 in boosting and sponsoring to get one good window cleaning technician in Minneapolis. Wow. In Ohio, same job, same company, same pay, same benefits.
Yeah.
$325 for a window cleaner in Ohio. Completely identical jobs, pay, and everything. Geographics completely different.
That is crazy.
When I do demos and I talk to well over 1,000 business owners throughout a year in our industry, right? Mm-hmm. Cleaning industry for the most part. And I can tell you that that's the question I get asked at the end of my demo. Well, how much do you think I'll have to spend? You've got to research your labor market. You've got to track these things. You've got to really, really find out what you're spending on Indeed. Is it working? Because our application flow on Indeed can be good, but it might cost us $20 for an application, but we're not getting enough applications from ZipRecruiter. But it's only costing us $7 or $8 on ZipRecruiter. So where do you want to invest that money? It really comes down to cost per application, because application flow is everything when you're talking recruiting, just like lead flow and marketing, right? You need as many leads as you possibly can get, but how much is it costing to get that lead? That's a starting point. That's
Okay.
a starting point. So
All right.
when you do that, the next thing that you kind of want to take a look at is the quality of lead, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Because that matters too. If it's only costing $20, if it's only costing $7 or $8 per application on one platform, maybe ZipRecruiter, but it's costing double that on Indeed, right? Well, ZipRecruiter's the answer. Well, it could be on a cost per application, but when you get down to it and you take a look at it, 75% of them aren't finishing the application that they started, which
Yeah.
brings me to another KPI.
Right.
You know, it was making me wonder, what our definition of application is. I guess there's several of them. I know there's some approaches where if I can just get an email from somebody, I'm okay. Or
Yeah.
if I can get them to like say something in Facebook that they're interested in a job. Okay, well, but the quality of that is less than somebody who took the time to fill out a more formal application.
Right. So we consider an applicant somebody that actually finishes an application and makes it in our system. They actually finished it. So one of the things that you'll want to take a look at, though, because application flow is so important, you want to see the number of people that start the application and actually complete your application.
Mhm.
That's a really big, important key that you want to take a look at a KPI. And it's difficult unless you have an application tracking system. It can be difficult to track that because how do you know when somebody starts something and when they don't? There's some software and some things out there. And Tom, you might be better equipped to talk about the technology part of that. But I know our application tracking system tracks that for us. And when I get to talking about specific numbers, it's very difficult for me to give you a number that's going to work in Washington. That's the same as Florida. Right. I already touched on that with the cost of an employee, but our target in general for people to complete the application is right around 65%. We want 60 to 65% of the people, or 35 to 40% somewhere in there dropping off. That's okay.
Well, it's a good number to start with.
Yeah.
So it's good for people to start with. So if you haven't been tracking this number, start and look at 60 to 65. If you're getting 30, okay, then maybe we're talking about different. You have a different number. You got to move that number one way or another, right? Or you can not have to worry about this number. So
the thing about it, Liz, is it'll help you identify whether or not your application is too long, too cumbersome. You don't want in this labor market, speed is everything.
Yeah.
So let me give you an example. What I mean, though, too, is at one point when we first started recruiting, we had about 30 questions on our application, 35 questions. It was long. And we had about 45% of the people not complete the application. Okay. We are down to about 11 questions on our application. And guess what the drop-off rate is? Right around 45% still. That tells me we are in the right zone. We had to adjust to what the market told us we needed to do. And so I'm very comfortable with bringing those questions down to that level as long as the drop-off rate remains the same.
All right, so let's go back for a second. Sure. I think the first KPI that you were talking about was cost per acquisition, cost per application.
Applicant,
right?
So let's talk about that one for a minute. Let's say that people on Smart Business Moves, they're like, okay, I've never tracked that, and now I'm going to start tracking it, right? And do you have a benchmark that people should be looking at? Now, I know you gave us these wide numbers, so I know you can't give us anything that's going to be wholly accurate, obviously, if we're talking about the difference between $30 and $1,200. Yep. But you have a number that people should be like starting with.
I mean, the other thing it depends on is the job title, right? Okay. So let's talk technicians, maybe.
Okay, wait. Before we get there. Well, hold on. Here's where I'm going with this, Shawn, and see if this makes sense. It might not make sense. I'm thinking that we kind of look at a number and we have sort of a benchmark there. Let's pretend that it's $100, okay? And then we go in and our number is 500. My next question too would be, what are some of the things that we start looking at, which I think would be like job title, the amount of questions. So maybe regardless of what the price or what the cost is,
Yeah,
if it's not, what are some of the things we should start working on to try and move that number?
sure.
Because even if it's $30, why wouldn't you still want to try and get it down to 20? What if
That's
20
right.
is reasonable,
That's right.
right?
Yeah,
So-
that's a great way to set the table, because I can't tell you how many times we've tracked things and I'm going, there's no way we're going to be able to meet the target number. And we do. And then it's like 2 years later, how on earth did we even consider that number acceptable, that we were looking at? Because we tracked it and we gave ourselves, some ammunition to say, this is where we were, let's improve on it, whatever it is. So that's a great way to set the question. Job title, job description, for sure.
Okay.
That is one of the things that creates application flow, and that can all be found by doing some research.
Okay.
The length of your job description.
So how long it is.
Everybody is on a phone today. I got news for you. We've shortened our job descriptions up a whole bunch. Yeah. So that's some of the things, we've talked about this, wages, right? What do we all gave more money and just a better job, right? And which is your job title, job description. Then the number of questions, or the ease of how they can answer those questions. So you definitely have to understand that about 80 to 85% of people are now applying on a phone. So if they have to go like this on their phone and like this on their phone and like that and scroll and this. So what we recommend is if you can set it up this way, and we can, is instead of having a bunch of scrolling, have maybe one question on the full screen and a next button.
Oh, nice.
Boom.
Yeah,
nice and easy to read on a phone, right? You could have 10 questions. One at a time is a hell of a lot easier to look at and answer than scrolling. Or trying. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes. Absolutely.
You made the analogy earlier that it's like marketing for customers, marketing for employees. So what's your customer acquisition cost? What's your employee acquisition cost? Because a lot of that really comes down to, how good an ad are you running and how good of call to action, and
absolutely,
we have a lot of control over the outcomes we get with that.
Yeah. So one thing that I really want to point out too, you said it already, Shawn, but I want to say it in this other way, is like you're giving us all of these things to be looking at, and you're telling us, right now we need to be length of job description. We have really shortened this, but in 3 months, you might need to be looking at you're going to look at these same exact things, but don't get stuck in the mindset of, okay, I need to shorten it some more. I need to shorten it some more, because at some point in time, you're going to have to lengthen it.
Yes.
You're going to have to start making it bigger, longer. We have to change all of these things. This is great advice for January 2022. Mm-hmm. But nobody knows what we're going to be doing January 2023.
Which kind of gets us back to the KPIs, right?
Yes.
Watch the numbers, and when the numbers start moving in the wrong direction, maybe it's time to make some changes.
Here's a really good example of that. We had a situation where Indeed had changed their algorithms on a couple things that we were doing, right? And they'll change their algorithms just like Google does. And we noticed that our cost per application had gone up about 50%. And so we looked at a lot of different things. I got a hold of our rep, because that's another piece of advice I'll give to anybody watching this, is if you see your KPIs getting strange and you've tried a couple things, the first thing I do is I call my rep at Indeed. If you're looking at your KPIs on Indeed, and you tell them what's going on. Here's the situation. The app flow is gone down because we're still spending $500, but it's costing $30 an application instead of $15 like last month. What is going on?
I'm seeing angry emojis popping up. I almost used profanity there, but I caught myself.
Well, we've all been there too, and we know. And I really like the angry emoji, because that's exactly what it feels like. It's like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Right? Like, ah,
Isn't that another thing like marketing and sales though? It's just like
absolutely.
marketing and sales. You've got to change
Absolutely.
sometimes whether it's the platform you're using, whether Craigslist used to work great. Then it really died. And
Yeah.
then they charged for it. Well, then it was free at one time. All that's going to change your KPIs with Craigslist. They didn't charge,
Right.
now they charge. Sometimes it works in certain parts of the country, and others it's still a dud. It's still a dud.
Yeah. Do you have a recommendation currently? What's working most of the time with the people you're looking at is Indeed is working the best. Is that right, Shawn?
I think Indeed works probably the best, but it's getting pretty expensive.
Uh-huh.
Um, we've got a relationship with ZipRecruiter, and ZipRecruiter, although it doesn't work in all parts of the country, we're having some great success in it in our St. Louis office,
Nice.
and some of our clients out there. So we really do. You do want to test the waters. After a week, we can pretty much tell based on our data where things are coming from because we track it. And then what we'll recommend is probably let's invest some money in there and lower the investment on Indeed or Facebook or something like that. Facebook's gotten a little bit goofy at times too. Facebook's a tough one. They've changed some algorithm things, and they've changed the way they do some things. It depends on the month of the year. Okay.
Yeah.
January is statistically, if we're talking about data and numbers and things like that, January is by far one of the best months of the year to recruit, period. End of story. December's horrible, and January's phenomenal.
And you don't really care what part of the country for that one.
I met a lady who basically writes software that kind of plugs into the back end of Indeed. She sells software to like Indeed. And she said statistically, January 8th is the highest day of the entire year in terms of new not applicants, but job seekers going onto the market.
Yep, I believe that.
That's the peak day. I guess it's after, the new year, and you take a few days to get your resume together. And if you want to recruit, start middle of January. That's when more fish are biting then than any other time of the year.
I just did a video on that with some data, and it was from Indeed for the most part. And you can see they've got what they call a competition score on that you can get. The higher the number is to the number 100, because if you have 100 out of 100, it is the highest competition there is for the specific job title in the specific city that you put in this search to gather the data. And in January, the competition score I put in, and I've done the research on a variety of them, general labor around the country. Okay.
Yeah.
The competition score is it goes up dramatically from January to February, February to March, March to April. By the time April comes around, it's too late. It's super competitive when spring starts to hit. The other thing that tends to happen is there's less job seekers, and there's more businesses that are recruiting in March and April. So January and February, you're going to lose tens of thousands of dollars if you're going to wait until the springtime to recruit. If you're in the window cleaning business, you're going to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. So the advice there is do it now. Don't wait.
Absolutely.
Just start now and hold on to those people. Keep your marketing going. So that's a common struggle in our industry, right? They're afraid to do both at the same time. They're like, I want to do this one and I don't want to do this one, right? So
taking it back to the KPIs again, if you have some history, you should be able to go back and see that your employee acquisition cost would be higher in April than what it would be in January.
Absolutely. Let's see here. In January for us, it was around $15.59 last year in our St. Louis office. It was, where's my April at? April is $37.51.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. More than double.
Yep.
So that's a good little chunk of change there. Big
Yep.
difference.
So if we know that we need some people, and it's like, well, maybe I'll just wait a while. Well, you might be better off doing it now rather than waiting a couple of months, because they might not be there in a couple of months.
Yeah.
And let me talk real quickly about another KPI, because Tom, you kind of swagged right into it, is the time it takes to hire somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of blue collar, the hospitality, your restaurants, your hotels, home service industries, that type of thing. For a technician hourly wage type of blue collar job is roughly 12 to 14 days.
From start to finish.
From start to finish. So if you're not recruiting right now, that means you're not hiring anybody until, certainly not the first or second week of February.
Yeah.
That's a good number. That's a good number. So like from the day that you first run that ad to the day that new technician is showing up for work, plan on being about 2 weeks.
At least, yeah. It's like 14 days. And now that's a number that has been published and has a lot of historical data behind it. That number is probably increased a little bit because the labor market has gotten very, very tough over the last 2 years.
Yeah. So
and if the person is leaving from another job and they want to give you a 2 weeks notice, and throw another 2 weeks on top of that.
Exactly. And the way that the market is, if you're doing things right, your job description matches your culture, and the expectations are matched on what you're selling in the job description, and your turnover rate isn't too bad, industry wise, then you'll be okay. But we all know our industry is super high turnover for a variety of reasons. And people today, and I just did a video on this, is job hopping a big deal anymore? Because if you're 17, if your 25-year-old daughter or son came up to you and said, man, everybody's raising wages. I've been at this job for 3 years. I can go get an extra $5 an hour somewhere. And then when you go there, let's say the paycheck wasn't what they told you it was going to be. Well, I'm out of here again. Those are good and smart people that do those things, right? It's not, job hopping is completely different than what it used to be.
Absolutely.
It really, really is. And if I don't know how I can put a KPI on that, but I know from talking to a lot of recruiters and in my Indeed reps, which we're on the horn with every week, that's a shift in the recruiting game, looking at that resume and looking at the job hopping. So
is that across like positions? I guess typically the hourly higher positions, it's, I guess it's kind of been that way for a long time. From my perspective, that wasn't uncommon to be looking at an application for somebody that has had 3 jobs in the last 6 months, and you're trying to figure out if you want to let them be number 4 or not.
Right.
But for more, higher paying, positions, are they seeing it there as well? I don't think they're seeing it nearly as much as they are on the hourly wage thing. No. Right. Yeah.
But they are still seeing it.
They are.
I mean, on the research that I've been looking at, they are still seeing an increase in that to a much bigger degree. And even more so, the last thing I looked at was since September, I think.
There's a couple, if you think about it, our education system has gotten to a point too, where it's a lot easier to go to a trade school, or we see all these school education online and on television advertised. Get your nursing degree in 2 years. You can become these things in 2. You don't have to go to Ohio State University to get with a 4-year degree to get a really nice career. That's completely changed over the last several years. Yeah. And so a lot of, and the other thing that's changed is, the competition is no longer just ABC Cleaning down the road. It's Amazon. It's Walmart now pays $15, $16, $17 an hour. They're paying some reimbursement on tuition. So our competition has gotten much larger too. A lot of smart people will try to take jobs, at other places, more so than they did 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago.
We're seeing a lot more competition from or with people that can go out into do some gig work also, which,
Yep.
we didn't see that 2 years ago. Well, we did in Portland, but we didn't see other places as much, right?
The job report, we saw the Jolt report that came out with the government labor department last week. I think it came out earlier this week. I don't know where I'm at anymore, but it was for November. Was it 4.5 million people quit their job? So that relates to job hopping a little bit. Of 4.5 million people are quitting their job.
And there's still like what 11 million job openings in the country. I mean, record high numbers. But the unemployment rate is below 4%. So the gap of people who just aren't even looking for a job versus the jobs are out there is getting bigger.
It is. It's the most unique labor market that I've seen, but we hired 40 some people last year. It's doable. One thing that I've talked a lot about is just mindset. We always call it whatever you want, whether it's attitude, mindset, whatever it is. You can sit and complain all you want about the labor market and Indeed and all that type of thing. And other companies, your competition, they are hiring. There's still companies that have been in business for 50 years that aren't out of business. They know how to get and attract good people still. We might not be able to get them as inexpensively as we used to because of supply and demand in the labor market, but that just means you spend more money. I mean, if you want to buy a $300,000 home for $150,000, that's a problem. That's a problem. It's a math problem. You're going to have to pay $300,000. That's all.
You can want as much as you want, but you're not going to get it just because you want it. Yeah,
exactly.
You gotta flex with, which again brings us back to our KPIs, which is why you got to be tracking this stuff. Exactly. So, all right, give us what are so we've talked about a few. We've got the cost per application. What were I think you've given us 3 KPIs now. Is that right, Shawn?
Yep. Cost per employee.
Okay.
And the completion rate, application completion rate.
Okay.
Time to hire was one of them.
Time to hire. Oh yeah, time to hire. So I would love it if you could give us some activities to increase some of these KPIs.
Sure.
Or reduce or whatever number it is that we're looking at, of course.
I think that's a great question. We talked about some of it. Your culture.
We got a great list here for, if I can get my Remarkable to change pages, we've got a great list of cost per applicant over here, or application. So the job title, job description, the length of the job description, wages and how you advertise them. I think wages is a lot of times, so how much absolutely matters nowadays, but also how you advertise them matters. I know a lot of people are having more success putting it into the ad twice and putting it in for an hourly and a weekly and a monthly amount. So that's a good one. A number of questions and the phone, how to make sure that they show up on the phone. That's great. Double checking that. And then call your representative at Indeed, like a winning idea, easy, right? That we don't think of a lot of times. And then also look at the month of the year and make sure that you are comparing apples to apples, oranges to oranges type deal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I think one other go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. I was going to ask you.
I think speed is everything. So how do we increase the speed? Right. We talked, just one thing was remembering that everybody's on a phone when they apply now. So we talked a little bit about that. But if you don't have an online application by now, I mean, your speed's completely gone. And then the other thing I recommend, Liz and Tom, is using some sort of a rating system that can automatically rate, whether it's as simple as green, yellow, red, Green is they answer really good, so let's move them to the next thing. Yellow, let's take whatever it is. We use a number scale, so we know, if somebody gets an 80 to 100, that's somebody we want to get to an interview table as quickly as possible. So automatically being able to, once they hit submit, automatically knowing instantly, is this somebody disqualified or not?
Okay.
Instantly.
Okay. So that people, and the point there is so that you can just get through faster.
Yeah, everything's speed, exactly. Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, I looked on Amazon and I looked at Walmart online applications, and it basically, depending on which one and what job position, but everything's very quick. And it's basically, you don't even need a resume to apply for a job with Walmart anymore. You just need to pretty much show up or go online and click away. And so speed is everything.
It's the same on the customer side. You made the analogy when we started. It needs to be quick. It needs to be easy. It needs to be frictionless.
Yeah.
The easier you can make it, the better the results you're going to get.
Yeah, for sure. And
every question you ask is adding more pain and more friction.
Right, that's exactly what it is. Every rep I've talked to, whether it's ZipRecruiter, Indeed, or whatever it is, are saying that your most important KPI is how fast can you get them from an application to hired, because that tells you an awful lot about everything else. Of course, they wouldn't tell you what the cost per application is most important to take a look at. Right?
Yeah.
But that time thing is so important.
All right. And it does make sense to me, especially when we have so many people like you brought up earlier, the job hopping thing. People are taking jobs like that. They don't like it. They just quit again and go to another job. So people are getting off the market quicker. Oh, I see we have a couple of questions over here.
Sure.
Robin wants to know. Oops, sorry, Tom. Sorry. All right. What is an average turnover rate in the cleaning industry? And is turnover higher now? All right. So this number gets bad press, and it kind of depends on residential or commercial, but I'm gonna let Shawn talk to you about his expertise here.
I'm not real sure because I don't do the day-to-day cleaning operations. Again, I don't own one. I don't. So I would think that you might know better than I would nowadays. I know that it's very high compared to most. At one time, I think 200 and some % wasn't out of the ordinary. I think if you can be around 75%, you're probably doing pretty well. That's what I would probably be looking at.
I get the opportunity to like see some industry numbers, and it's rare to see somebody below 100%. It is rare. You see more people around 2. I would say if you're at 2, you're not, you're middle of the pack. And I see some people that are 4 and above. So there can be a wide range. But if you're below 200%, don't be. I'm not to say that you don't want to strive to be better. You do, because there's a real cost with turnover. But don't be beating yourself up saying that you suck. There's a lot of people in your same situation.
Yeah.
But even so, a lot of people in your same situation, I definitely think you got to work that number. This number is costly.
Thank you for saying that, because the other part of it is I think that turnover number is ignored by, or isn't really given a lot of attention. We spend a lot more time worrying about trying to add a new home to our schedule and not getting not losing a customer. We spend more time worrying about that than we do about our employees.
And I don't understand that. The two things I always bring out to that point, Tom, are this. In the residential home cleaning arena, we've got a client, and that client's going to pay us about $3,000 to $5,000 a year in revenue, and we all know that the employee is going to go fetch $50,000 or $60,000 of revenue, and yet we focus so much. But okay, so that's the math of it. Let's think about your life, your stress, your sanity. Okay.
Oh, good one.
This wakes you up a little bit. Forget
that. We never worry about that.
Data stuff's so boring. So if you don't want to jump off a bridge, listen to this, right? You've got 100 clients. You've got 10 employees. You lose 3 clients tomorrow. You lose 3 employees tomorrow. Which one is going to keep you up at night? How do you even function the next day and figure out how to do your business if 3 people don't show up to work? 3 clients, I can replace them in a week.
Yeah. Okay, but those percentages are different. So some of you out there in Facebook world are like, yeah, that's not the same. Those percentages are way different. Let's use the same percentage, right? And so let's say we have 10. We say we have 100 customers,
Yep.
and we lose 10 clients, or we have 10 employees and we lose 1 employee. Which one hurts worse? Well, nobody's going to argue that.
And I don't, and I think you have to use reality. Reality is, 5 employees take care of 100 customers. I mean, that's how our businesses operate.
Yeah.
So you can do percentages all you want. That's fantasy island. We're talking about real numbers in business. You lose, you don't need 10 employees to clean 10 clients. I don't know exactly what the number is anymore, but you go with the reality of the numbers of employees that it takes to take care of clients, and you lose 3 employees. Your wife's going to know it. Your husband's going to know it. Your kids are going to know it.
But 3 employees out of 100, Shawn, is different. Like 3 clients out of 100, 3 employees. Still, all day long, I'd rather lose 3 clients out of 100 than 3 employees out of 100.
Absolutely.
I mean,
your investment in your employee is more. Your return on investment employee is more. Right. I mean, it's no comparison.
No comparison. I do think that nowadays, since COVID, and in the past year specifically, people in our industry are definitely putting a lot more focus on this number, on this retention number, this turnover number with their employees. They're definitely looking at that, and they're seeing it as a KPI that needs to be watched, right? And it's one of the top KPIs. Instead of in the past, it was like, yeah, I know I need to watch that, but I'm focusing on my clients.
It's so frustrating to spend, $500 or $1,000 boosting ads to have, nobody show up to the interview. It's so frustrating.
Yeah. We were hearing that a lot last year, right? It's better now, thankfully, in January, like you said. But really, if right now in January, you were saying that this is the best time of the year, bar none. So if you are not overstaffed right now, you better get it in gear. You better get to going, because it is still not, it's not amazingly easy right now. It's just easier. It's just better.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. It's going to be less expensive to hire in January. It's always supply and demand. I mean,
there's more people out there right now,
right? You've got less competition right now that's advertising. That's going to increase in February, in March, and in April. And it was like 155,000 less job seekers in the labor market from month to month. Okay, in the United States, in the general labor blue collar space. Yeah. So it's a lot of people. And, if you like to spend more money on recruiting, then just wait until, spring hits. That's just the bottom line.
And call Shawn and he can help you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But bottom line, you guys, is it's not even really about the money. I mean, I know most business owners that I know of, I don't care how much it's going to cost me if I can get somebody. For most people, they're like, no matter what I'm spending, no matter what I'm doing, I can't get people. I can't take on jobs. It's not even about the money. It's about like just being able to get them, which is why Indeed has us a little bit over barrel right now.
Yep, they do.
Yes. Money's not an object when you need people.
No,
it's like Dan Plata said it. He's the bookkeeping guru. He's the numbers guy. He knows numbers of a lot of cleaning industries around the country. A lot, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
Talking about?
Dan Plata, the CEO.
Oh, Dan Plata.
Yeah, and he said it the other day. It was Tuesday, yesterday, on our leadership call. He said, just tell those people our businesses to spend whatever we need to spend to get employees. Because if I have to, I'll throw $1,000 at Google in a heartbeat, and those employees will be full of cleanings.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's that simple. It's really that simple.
It's a different world right now. You have to have those people, and they are not as plentiful as they once were.
That's true. That's
So,
true.
We are kind of pushing up against the top of the hour. Is there, tell us a little bit about Blue Skies, and for those of us who are more inclined to like let somebody help us out rather than trying to do everything ourselves, how could you help us with the recruiting?
If you go to the website there, or you can find me on Facebook, you want to set up a demo with me, and I'll show you exactly what we use, our automated recruiting system that we use for our own companies and for hundreds of other cleaning companies around the country. When you set up a demo, it'll take about 20, 30 minutes. I'll show you the exact questions we use. I'll show you how we research the labor markets. I'll show you on average what it might cost you to boost and sponsor it, depending on the job. We'll do the research in your labor market for you. We'll create the job titles, the job descriptions. We'll post it all over the place. We'll gather data on what we think is happening out there as far as where things are coming from, application flow. And then we'll consult with you on what we think you might need to spend in boosting and sponsoring, and what platforms that you'll need to do that in. And then you can take all of that and try it on your own if you want. And it won't cost you a dime to do that, or it'll cost you 30 minutes to hang out with me a little bit and steal it all you want.
And you're going to have a lot of fun regardless.
I guarantee you'll have fun, because I do over 1,000 demos a year, and I've never heard anybody say, man, you're not very enthusiastic about this stuff, are you? Never have I heard that. So I'll tell you.
So do I go to this link here if I want a demo? Is this the best way to do
it? Link there, recruiting services.
Yeah, and it like recruiting dash packages. Is that?
Just hit the recruiting services.
Can you see my screen, Shawn?
I can,
but it's awful small.
Okay.
If you hit the recruiting services button, Tom, that's what he wants you to hit.
Top left. Just click on that.
Okay.
And scroll down just a little bit. Right there, that green button.
Okay.
Okay.
And there's my calendar.
Holy moly. So
just yank it time. Oh, you better do it quickly, because he doesn't have much time left.
Yeah,
Getting booked up.
Yeah. All right. Can you share any kind of pricing? How is the pricing model? Or is that something that's better to get on the call?
Well, yeah, definitely. It's just like house cleaning, right? How big's your house? What do you need us to do? So it's hard to give a number, but it ranges from $197 up to $697.
Okay. All right. So if you're looking at,
said, Liz, that it didn't matter what it costs. If you need people, you need people, right?
That's the truth. A lot of people want to know. It's true, though. I think a lot of people nowadays are, well, maybe not so much in January. I know people are feeling better.
This is my thinking of the whole thing. If you're struggling with labor, and if you got positions you can't fill, and all you're doing is what you've been doing, and you're still getting the same results, you need to try something different. I'd give Shawn a call.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll tell you what, if you guys give me, if somebody clicks on a button to set up a demo, it doesn't obligate you to anything other than to talk with me. We have a $350 setup fee. I'll waive that completely. If you go to the calendar and you've listened to this, right off the bat, I'll do that for you, and we'll give you a little bit of a discount. It'll ask you how you heard about us when you fill everything out. And as I say, I'll show you everything that we do. Take it. And you can call me a week if you got questions. 2 weeks down the road, we can talk it through, or you can just hire us to be your full-time recruiting department for a few $100.
Just tell Shawn that I saw your webinar on smart business moves, and I thought your live stream on smart business moves, and that's why I'm here. And hey, they're set up free. That's awesome.
That is awesome. Thanks, Shawn. Also, I just want to do a real quick plug for Shawn. As far as him, what he said, he'll give it all to you. He absolutely will. He's one of the most giving people I've seen in our industry. Well, we have a lot of giving people in our industry, don't get me wrong. But Shawn always, he shares all of the stuff. If you want to do it yourself, he's all about letting you do it yourself. But if you don't want to, how many people, Shawn, say, I'm going to do it myself, and then a month later are like, never mind.
It's usually less than a month, and then the ones that get on our starter package almost always want to go into the other one like a month after that starter package.
Oh, of course. That makes perfect sense, right? Because as once you see how easy it is to have somebody else do it, it's like, take my money.
And very quickly, and then I'll be quiet, is if you sign up with us to do the things that we want to do for you, basically your only job is somebody's going to reach out to you and say, I want to interview. And all you need to do is interview them and hire them. We do everything else. We'll screen the living daylights out of them for you. We do everything else. You just need to respond and say, how's tomorrow? Yep. They show up, you interview them, you hire them. And it's that simple. Really is that simple.
Nice.
I love this industry because there's a lot of awesome people in it, and Shawn's definitely one of them. The house cleaning industry is a better place because of people like Shawn. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Shawn. Tom, we do have an announcement before we head out of here.
Okay, have at it.
All right. So starting in February, we are going to be doing Zoom calls on Tuesday and Thursday. And those are going to be obviously much more interactive. And we'll tell you more about what those are going to be about a little bit later on in the month.
We're going to be starting February 1st, actually. That's the first Tuesday of February. You know what that is? That's Groundhog's Day Eve.
The penultimate Groundhog Day.
Well, I know that because I got married on February 1st. And I never forget it because it's Groundhog's Day Eve.
All right. Well,
now, tell me if that's not romantic.
And I'm never forgetting that either. So
that's good.
All right. Look forward.
It's Wednesday, so we're about wrapped up for the week. We're going to be back Monday, 5 o'clock Eastern. Our guest is going to be Dom Williams. Dom is a house cleaning business owner in Kokomo, Indiana. He's got a really big house cleaning business. He's an entrepreneur. He does a lot of stuff, but he's also founder of a software package called HireWho, and he's really learned a lot about the hiring process. So going back to, I don't have time to pull up my process flow chart anymore, but after you recruit people, guess what? You got to hire people, right? So there's a whole nother set of KPIs that go with hiring, and Dom's going to help us with that on Monday.
Awesome.
Shawn, thanks a bunch. Love the work that you're doing. You guys take care. We'll be back Monday, 5 o'clock Eastern. Bye-bye.
Sounds good. Thanks, y'all. Bye-bye.